Hello Trophy Hunters, Tanya here and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever played DLC so good that you wish it could be a standalone game? DLC so good that it rivals your love for the main title? And DLC so good that if it was made into a standalone game, you think could probably even be better than the title it originally came with? Well, that's a wish I have had for the longest time about Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. Now this DLC came with Borderlands 2, which just so happens to be one of my favourite games, and it just so happens that this DLC is one of the best DLC packs I've ever bought, I have ever played, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, in December last year, my wish came true because Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep was released as a standalone game. It was a one-shot adventure released to hype up Wonderlands, which was released this March. But sometimes wishes should stay just that, just like DLC should stay as DLC. We're going to talk about how Tiny Tina's one-shot adventure was a bit more of a miss for me than a hit. For those of you who haven't heard of or played the Tiny Tina DLC, well, number one, you are missing out, and two, it's actually a really cool RPG concept which takes the form of an in-game tabletop adventure based on Dungeons and Dragons, and this version is called Bunkers and Badasses. Tina is the dungeon master and is hosting a campaign for Lilith, Brick and Mordecai. You dock your boat just outside Flame Rock Refuge, a town which smells of butts and dead people, and you have to fight your way through hordes of skelly men in order to get there. It's here you find out that the Queen has been kidnapped by the handsome sorcerer, and this is where you set off on your main adventure to get her back. The campaign is around 10 hours long and it really is just such a fun twist on the standard Borderlands experience. There are only 31 trophies in the one-shot, and the trophy list is a bit of an amalgamation between the original DLC list as well as the original Borderlands 2 list. It's this mix of the two which means that Assault on Dragon Keep doesn't really work as a standalone game. Borderlands 2 is well known for having a few pain-in-the-arse trophies. For example, using every character's kill skill in a certain way, reaching max level, and for completing level 1 of every non-area specific challenge. These trophies have been added to the one-shot list with some slight modifications. The challenge trophy in particular has been changed to make it require less kills. However, there are still a few skills within certain sections, such as shotgun and rocket launcher, that require you to grind certain skills up to level 5 in order to unlock the last skill in that section. But the biggest issue with this is there is a severe lack of farmable enemies in this game, so it feels like much more of a chore even though it requires less skills. The same can be said for the trophy for reaching max level. Max level in the one-shot adventure is only level 35, but even after fully completing the campaign twice, including side quests, you'll still be around 10 levels short. In Borderlands 2, the best way to level up is actually in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, because the enemies scale to your level and you are consistently awarded fair XP for your fights, but that mode just doesn't exist in the DLC standalone, so therefore in order to grind your remaining levels, your only option is to farm in Murderland's temple, repeatedly. Which after the first time is not a fun way to spend your time. Loot is such an important part in Borderlands and enemy farming goes along with that. It's such a staple in the series and it feels strange going into a version of the game where farming just isn't really an option. And rather than making for a satisfying trophy unlock, it's just a real slog. The rest of the trophies are pretty standard though. You have ones for completing the main campaign, as well as some fun miscellaneous ones relating to loot luck, wielding the mysterious amulet, or for feeding our beloved queen 3 times. There's also a few online trophies and challenges within the game, which do require you playing with friends. Normally I'm not a huge fan of online trophies, but in Borderlands I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing because these games are way more fun with friends. So Pete, who side note has a really cool trophy channel which I will link down below and you should definitely check out, he was a really good egg and volunteered to help me with the online aspect of the game because I was actually really struggling to find anyone to play this with. But we played through together, and as well as tanking Murderland's temple, we also did some fun trades, and we just absolutely beasted the game. Overall, the story of the DLC is the exact same as it was in Borderlands 2, so it was still just as fun and wacky as it was originally. But I do feel like this is another case of the trophy grind souring the game for me. Because if I played the one-shot just to re-experience the story, I would have loved it. It was just the hours of grinding that really took the wind out of my sails, and it made me resent my time with the game. The release of this one-shot adventure does also pose a number of questions. Number 1, why was this necessary? I understand that it was a good way to market Wonderlands, which, by the way, if you've played, let me know if it's worth buying now or should I wait for a sale. But in terms of releasing DLC as a standalone, you have to ask what value does it add to the player? Because there's nothing really different about this. There's nothing groundbreaking. And when players say that they wish certain DLCs would be standalone games, I imagine they mean it that they would like something like Wonderlands, developed from the idea of that DLC, rather than just a re-release of the exact same DLC that they've already played. And if you look at this from a trophy perspective, does a DLC deserve a separate trophy list and its own platinum? Now, trophy elitists are forever shouting about the dilution of platinum trophies, so surely this would be an example of that. While it's not necessarily a grubby platinum or a cheesy platinum, it is still a DLC. Like, it's a quick and easy one. And finally, will this open the door for other developers to re-release DLC as separate games? Now, while this was an interesting marketing move from Gearbox, and I do think this does help hype up Wonderlands, it's not necessarily a move that I'm keen to see repeated. DLC should sometimes just stay as DLC. If you picked up the one-shot when it was free on PS Plus in January, you have nothing to lose by giving the game a try, apart from maybe 20 to 30 hours of your life. But other than that, I wouldn't really recommend paying for it, especially if, like me, you've played as a DLC in Borderlands 2. So that was my experience with Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. Did you end up trying the one-shot adventure? Let me know. Also, on the topic of DLCs, what are some of your favourite DLCs that you think should be a standalone game? Despite all my criticisms in this video, we can still have fun and pretend they'd make good games, right? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all in the very next video. Bye!